Troy Galloway is a construction manager and consultant, commercial and residential builder, and a certified inspector for all commercial and residential buildings. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to About the House. This is Troy Galloway, your humble host, and I really appreciate y'all joining us again. And About the House, it's an awesome radio show. We are one of a kind. This is your audio university of everything you want to know about your home. I mean, from real estate to construction to even insurance for your homes and different applications. And we've even had attorneys come onto our show talking about the legal ramifications of contracting and working with contractors. And you know what really makes this show so awesome is not as the content necessarily, which is perfect, but also because it's forever. You can always go back to your audio university. You go back to your YouTube, Google it. You can come up there on a podcast. I mean, we got so many different ways out there, and you can listen to it over and over again. So we're really tickled that you folks have joined us here today. And I'm Troy Galloway. I am the owner of Galloway Building Services. Just like this radio show, we're a one-of-a-kind inspection type company. We inspect homes and buying commercial buildings, or if you're buying a home, make sure you know what you're buying. We do that. A lot of folks do that, but what makes us very unique is we also do construction inspections. I've been a builder for over 40 years, building engineering, and so we can help you with any kind of construction. You want to make sure your job's being done right, you give us a call. We also help with any kind of construction conflict. Say, for instance, you're not for sure that the job is being done right, or worse yet, you got a neighbor. You know how these neighbors are. They come over there. They know, everyone's got one. They know everything except for what they're talking about. Then they're over there telling you, oh, this is not how I do it. Well, they get you worried. And so you give us a call. We come out, take a look at it, come out there, and we can't help you. Then we don't charge you, so you don't worry about, being taken advantage of by that. Also, we help folks with construction issues like that. But we also, heaven forbid, you have to go to court. And that does happen sometimes. And so we're an expert litigation company, construction litigation. And not only do we bring in a wide range of other professionals, but we also work with attorneys that specialize in this kind of issues. And let's pray that never happens. But if it does, you got somebody in your corner. Our motto is we make sure you're getting what you paid for. The job is being done right, and you're not getting ripped off. Well, folks, hey, thanks again for joining us. I appreciate you. And we are actually finishing up part 2 of engineered lumber and engineered materials made out of wood. But today we're going to be talking more about the lamb beams and some other parts of it. In part 1, we talked a lot about sheathing, the different types of components. So we'll just kind of go over a little bit, rehash that just for a quick second. And then we'll get into the other meat and potatoes of the engineered lumber. I know I was telling some folks about this today that about this. I listened to the show. Some of them got really excited. Some of them just looked at me and their eyes glazed over. So just considered me your construction geek. I love it. To me, it's fun stuff. And so I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. But let's jump into a little bit of rehashing of what we done last show. And we talk about some of the engineered lumber. Well, plywood. We talked about that, and actually that's kind of like the mother of all, of engineered type material, which has been around for, I don't really know how long, but it's been my 60 years over in this earth, and I always remember plywood. So it's been around. We also talked about pressed wood and furniture making with it, and particle board, and, the applications of that. So, that's all on part 1. We also talk about the new zip system that they have, and that's that green board you see on sheathing of homes. We see a lot more of that. And we talked about a little bit about the waterproofing of it and air infiltration. So these are all engineered materials, and they really every day they seem to be coming out with some new stuff and more, better, bigger, better things. Subfloors out there now like that. Check out our last show and you'll just catch up on that. But let's kind of move on here. We got this probably not going to be as long a segment as the other one last radio show, but I did want to hit up on some of the timbers that we use that we use for weight control and carrying loads, things like that. We're going to also talk a little bit about trusses and just kind of touch base with some of that. But let's jump in here and let's talk about you're going to hear a lot of these acronyms here. But when I'm going to talk about what they are and what they mean, but glued laminated timber, we call them glue lams. And actually what it is, basically, it's just several layers of dimensional timber that's glued together and with a moisture resistant adhesives. And kind of like, you can take several different types of boards and just kind of put them all together and glue them. By gluing these timbers together like that, dimensional lumber together, is actually stronger than if you use the nails. As an old millwright cabinet maker, I was always taught, hey, you only put the nails in it till the glue dries. What that really makes it strong. Well, the same with the glue lams. So you'll see a lot of that out there now that we talked about it. Also, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we call laminated veneer lumber. That's called LVLs. So when you're hearing, you hear on YouTube and people are talking about the different types, and you'll hear the acronym LVL. And what it is it's actually produced by bonding thin wood veneers together to make a larger stock. And the grain of all the veneers is parallel to themselves in the long direction. And this actually results in enhanced mechanical properties and dimensional stability, and it offers a broader range of products width and depth that you can use by using the LVL. And yes, LVL is considered a structural composite lumber. SCL. Oh, these folks got an acronym for everything. But once you learn what it is, it makes it a lot easier to talk about. But we use that particular product for rafters and headers. We use them for beams, joists, rim boards, even studs and columns. So pretty cool stuff to use. And like I said, for like on the LVLs, we see a lot of times we'll use them on what we call balloon framing. We'll talk more about framing issues and techniques on another show, but real quick, a balloon frame is how it all used to be done back in the old days, where we just used long pieces of wood, and instead of using 8-foot walls and then stacking our walls on top of one another, we use these like on a walkout. We use them. You'll see a lot of atriums that we'll use them on. Atriums is they're all glass wall, because you're not going to be able to stack two different walls on top of one another. But once again, we'll talk about that in another show. I'm looking forward to that. As a carpenter by trade, I do love the construction methods and the different systems. All right, so let's move over to another one here, the cross-laminated materials. So we got cross-laminated timber, CLTs. And it's a versatile multi-layer panel made of lumber, and each layer of the boards is actually placed crosswise. Remember we talked about the other one here was just laying in the same direction. This is crosswise to it, and what this does is it increases the rigidity and the strength of it. And CLTs can be used for long spans and assemblies, like floors and walls and roofs. And the advantage of CLTs is a faster construction time, as the panels are manufactured and finished off-site and supplied ready to fit, and just screw them together. You see a lot of that on our prefab houses that we get shipped out from the factory. And I look forward to doing one of them shows with you too, because I really think them are pretty cool. But you'll see you go out to some of these construction sites and you'll see these semi-trucks with all these walls and floors and everything. Well, that's what they are. They're just a big old crossword puzzle brought out there and put together. Where it might take months to build a building, they could throw these things out. Well, I shouldn't say throw them, but they can assemble them. I don't get in any trouble. And you can assemble them within a matter of days. Really a great way, time savings. And because of the type of material it is, it's actually stronger than doing it the other way. So when you are in areas of tornadoes and hurricanes, then these materials are actually called out for that particular products. Now we also have, moving on, we got our parallel strand lumber. Now we call it PSLs. And these actually consist of long veneer strands laid in a parallel formation and bonded together again with an adhesive, and it really forms a beautiful structural section. They're strong. It's a strong, consistent material. There's not, what I mean by that, when you get your regular dimensional store-bought wood, it has knots in it, cracks in it. Well, that's weaknesses in that particular material, where this doesn't. Actually makes for a better, longer, stronger material, and it's suited like for your beams and columns for post and beam construction. Now, we see post and beam. We'll talk about that, like I said, in another show. But you'll see that as you see a lot in churches and different types of in commercial type industry. But we also put in a lot of beautiful homes too. So that's really great. And you could use it for lintels, for light framing construction. And of course, it's also a member of the SCL family of engineered wood products. Now we move over to the parallel strand lumber and PSL, and so we've talked about this one before, but it's manufactured again, like I said, and we're just going to move on, bounce off that. But PSL beams are usually more expensive than your glue lams. It's more expensive than your LSVLs or your LVL beams. PSL, or parallel strand beams, they can be stained and finished where you want to make sure they're out in the open and looking, and they're really, really pretty. I know a lot of people really love them. So we're going to kind of bounce on there. We kind of talked a lot about that before, but something I didn't bring up last time, and about our engineered wood, and I want to talk about that, and that was a lot of our trim. Now, you have your stain packs, and what a stain pack is where you stain your material so you can see the beautiful wood. And that is usually all milled stock sawed lumber. But we also have what we have called a paint grade material. It's a lot less expensive. And you could paint it. It's really great finishes, but it's all finger jointed. So what do I mean by that? Is there just a lot of small pieces that they put together and they finger join it, and then they make a long piece with it, and then them finger joints are all glued. And wow, they're really great. What an awesome way to use our off-fall or our scrap material. It's really, hate to call it scrap material. I got in trouble for that years ago. I was saying, I'm using scrap material on your job here. Well, actually, it was off-fall. The customers thought that I was just using junk when actually I wasn't. So we call it off-fall, so I don't get in trouble by the carpenters out there. But we finger joint this stuff together, and man, does that stuff work great. We move a little bit now. I just wanted to touch base on that because I didn't really hit on that a whole lot last time. But we want to talk about our beams. We got I-joist beams and I-beams. And you'll see a lot of these I-beams. And where we talked a little bit about that, where we use our OSB in the first show. But the OSB board, because plywood, actually what it is two regular saw-cut lumber. Most of the time, you could get it where it's engineered lumber, top core of the top and the bottom of the I-beam, where they lay flat. But a lot of times it's just nothing more than just a regular saw wood. But what makes it so, man, it's amazing. You see this stuff. It's this regular plywood OSB board that's designed, and because it's sitting on edge and because it's an engineered glued material, it makes for a super strong floor beam or I-beam. We use a lot of it in floor joist. And because of doing that, we can get longer spans. See, if you're using just a dimensional saw wood, you're only going to get by code and hitting your 40 pounds per square foot code compliancy, which is in most of the United States, and of course, depending on the application, if it's a deck or a home. By using this type of material, it literally lets you span a further distance. Also something else I like about it is it's flat. I mean, it's because it is a dimensional cut wood that they're designing. You do not get your humps in your floor where you do with your saw cut lumber because of naturally bowing and such. Actually, every piece of wood of saw cut lumber is got a crown to it. So you got to crown it. Well, this stuff doesn't have that. Now, why is that an advantage on the floor? Well, because it cuts down on our floor squeaks. Yes, it expands further. It saves time and money on the job site, but it's great for cutting down floor squeaks. And them things could drive you crazy. So that really is a great thing to help you out with. Now, if you go and you check out some of our YouTube videos, you'll see on our new construction inspections when we're doing a building that's in progress, what happens is some of that stuff gets wet. And we did talk about that on the last show. And so, not everything's absolutely perfect, but it's really good to know. It's great to use. Saves you a lot of money. So anyway, think about them. Ask your lumberyard whenever you're getting ready to, build you a product. Is this something that I could use? I-joist or I-beams, and see if that could help you and save time and money. Heck, if you're doing it yourself, you want to get it done. All righty. Well, let's kind of talk about trusses. Well, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of truss? Well, naturally, it's the roof trusses. Roof trusses have been around for I'm not for sure how long, but I know we've been using them now for 40 years. But I remember, too, when we made the transition as an industry from just regular stick-built to trusses. And I remember that a lot of the old timers used to say, well, look at them trusses. They're not strong enough to hold anything. You got to have this big old heavy piece of lumber up there. Well, and, nobody really wanted to take a chance until time proven that they actually work. So our roof trusses, you see them all the time. Basically, on the most part, we'll get into other parts of that at another time when we're talking about the actually framing section of a show. But trusses are normally 2x4 trusses. Sometimes they're 2x6, and they're a web-shaped or a V-shaped, and they're engineered to carry an extreme amount of load at longer spans than what you used to have with their stick-built material, which is great. But what also is really cool about them is that they could go up fast. Instead of 16-inch or 12-inch centers, a lot of times they go on 2-foot centers. So that means that you can get them up and done faster. Also, you see the cranes up there, lifting them up there, putting them on. The guys can rock and roll, man. They get them up there. They could instead of taking a couple of weeks to get a roof done, they got that roof done in a day or so. That is really great material. And I know you see them, you think, well, how is that going to hold? But it really does. And of course, it's absolutely engineered. Now, that's not engineered material a lot of times. It's engineered how they're built to put them together. And of course, you can't really build one yourself. You have to go to a truss company and they'll put that together for you. They design it. It's all code. Let them take care of it. That's what they do for a living. And there's a lot of great truss companies out there to work with, and they'll know what loads. Also, with these type of trusses that we use, we call a vaulted ceiling. A vaulted ceiling is where it's kind of angled like a gable or a point inside your home. Or if we have a coffer ceiling, you can make them get trusses with coffer ceilings. So look at all the time that saves. They're already built. Just put them up there. We also have our trusses, which I really love. We call them attic trusses. Now, what is an attic truss? Well, that is where it's got the walls already built into the truss. So when you set that truss down, not only do you have the roof itself, but you also have the exterior walls. Not just the time, but how smooth, straight the walls are. It just produces a really beautiful product. So we want to think about, the trusses. We also have other type of trusses out there. You got floor trusses, which is floor trusses. Now, that is something I think is pretty cool too, is how we put them together. And our floor trusses, that they do is that they have we got several different types of floor trusses. You got some that are just all wood. You got some that's got blended with some wood and with metal. And you'll see them a lot out there also, which really, really helps carry that load. And it's like we just mentioned earlier about the I-beam floor joist. Well, they carry a certain amount of load, but these others, they can even carry a longer load. And they're really great for, if you got open spanses up above you or apartment buildings, things like that. These are great for that. Helps out to carry them loads so as that you can get your buildings done a lot faster. We see that on a lot of our, not high-rise buildings, but our high-rise apartments, condos, etc. So them are always great to use. And now what even is really cool about them is that you could take them and even hybrid them. And what do I mean by a hybrid? Well, you got your engineered wood, you got your metal, and you got regular wood, stall cut lumber, and they combine together to make a special kind of hybrid truss. We don't see a lot of them here in the Midwest. See a lot more of them on the West Coast. I am not a particular, I like them. I don't know a lot about them. And I am your old school carpenter. So what does that mean? If I don't know a whole lot about them, I'm not going to sing praises about them until we have a better opportunity to learn what they are. So these are really awesome. I would like to get into trusses in another time because there's a lot of different types of metal trusses and things, but we'll talk about that in another show where we're talking about our framing techniques and such. But man, I'll tell you what, they are really, really awesome. And we have made this so as that it can actually get done so much quicker on our sites. And I think that if anytime we could save money, anytime we can get that building up under roof faster, more efficient, and got it so it's actually a higher quality product, well, I'm all about that. And anytime that we can actually use materials instead of just throwing them away, and we can, I guess you could call it recycling. I don't know that but you could call it recycling. But we could put them in there and put that together a product. That's a win-win for everybody. So anyway, and there's a lot of information on there. And if you guys ever have a question, give me a call. You could check, I'll give you my phone number at the end of the show. You'll also find us out on Facebook and such. But these are great to talk about and to kind of learn more about them. So we talked about different types of trusses. We talked about the different types of engineered flooring. We talked about different types of materials out there that we can use now. And as engineered materials continue to evolve, there's going to be new products. Don't necessarily run out and just go get that brand new product because it's brand new. Look how many times we've all been bit with just going buying the newest fad material. But give it a few years, see how, read the results, see what your architect and your structural engineer says that's helping you design your product. And even then we have problems. I'm going to tell a story on me. So we did a project, and it was for my own home. And I used engineered wood, because I was carrying some great expanses. And what happened was they would not let me, the county, do my own engineering work. They made me take it to it because I guess they figured I would, would cut corners. I guess they didn't know me, or they would have known that's just the opposite. I'm married and my wife skinned me alive if I screw up, and I'm not about to do that. Oh, yeah. So I did. I went out and I got an engineered report on the materials. The architect designed it. The structural engineers claimed it would be fine. Now we're talking about the floor joist areas. Now I used the rim board engineered wood that we was talking about earlier. And what happened was, as along my deck, we got moisture in behind it. I'm going to tell you two different stories in the same house, actually, and moisture got behind it. How it got in behind it, it just wasn't flashed adequately. Honestly, we did it to as what they recommended, but it needed more. I learned the hard way, because it swelled up, it rotted and deteriorated, and now I got a load-bearing walls that are sitting on compromised wood. But here's one that actually surprised me, is that on our rim board, and where I put a covered deck over top of it, the load of the covered deck / porch put so much weight on it that it sagged. Now, I'm surprised that it sagged. It sagged because it compressed. The weight of it compressed this material. The structural engineer didn't foresee that. It wasn't his fault. It was just these are just that we're still learning in these processes. We don't get a lot of compression on saw cut lumber. It does happen. Absolutely. I got tons of different pictures and inspections that we have witnessed this on. And so that's kind of why it's a great idea that when you're having your building, your home built, or your office or apartment, you get a construction inspection, get a second set of eyeballs out there. Because honestly, if you see it every day, you don't see anything. Where somebody has been out there in the field that has experienced these things, they can come in and say, well, I recommend that maybe you flash this differently. Or I recommend that you put different types of material underneath that load-bearing wall so it doesn't compress. It's just a great way of helping you look at the money you can save if you do it. Just for a few $100s. If I would have known anybody like my company as I was building this, because I couldn't, I didn't know what was happening, and we had an expert like I had learned how to do and be, I maybe would have saved myself thousands of dollars. Remember the wifey thing? Yeah, buddy, I sure got a little bit. I thought you knew better than that. Well, I thought so too. Yeah, but that's what as she says, that's what I get for doing my own thinking. Well, folks, thank you for listening to our show. There's a whole bunch more about engineered materials that we could talk about, but I'm just trying to do your basics here. Trying to give you a quick education of the different types of material, of your glue lambs and your LVLs and all these different material, because it really does get confusing. So listen to this a little. You might want to listen to these shows a few times. That way, when your architect calls it out, heck, just because you're, architects, they're just like the rest of us. That's why they have that disclaimer. If they make a mistake, you can't sue them because things happen. The world's not perfectly round, and not everything's going to be perfectly stable as predicted. So check it out. Have somebody like us look at it. Galloway Building Services. We'd love to be a service to you. Our phone number, just real fast, if you want to write it down, or check us out on our webpage, is 314-520-6655. Or you can also call the office. That was my personal number. My office number, 636-394-3112. And again, check us out on YouTube or Google, About the House, our web pages, www.Galloway Building Services. Tons of great information. And we also teach at the college, so construction classes. So when things get back to normal, we will be teaching some more. Oh, I just also want a little bit of bragging about our company. We just got certified through the state of Missouri to teach construction classes to real estate agents. So that's a great feather in our cap. Kind of happy and bragging about that. Looking forward to getting out there working with real estate agents. We are, once again, the only company that's doing that particular type of education. So give us a call. Hey, folks, thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed talking with you today. And shout out again to our producer, Joey. He's awesome. He takes good care of us. And people want, I got to tell a quick story here if that's possible. So somebody says, does Joey give you a discount for patting him on the back? I said, no, he don't give me a discount, but the service he does is so great. I just got to brag about him. God bless you all. Have a great day. Thank you for listening.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.